For today's Bookmas video, I wanted to have a chat about the 25 books that I would like to prioritise in 2025. So originally I was only going to aim for like 10 books or 12 books in 2025 because 25 books seemed like a lot. Back in the day on Booktube there would be the trend where you would go up each year, so in 2012 we would do 12 books to focus on, in 2012 13 books, in 2013 and so on. By the time we started reaching the late teens, it was getting a bit wild. As I was going through my books on my TBR shelf, I actually realised that there are quite a few books on there that I would like to prioritise because I would finally like to read them. So never mind all that. I have actually chosen 25 books to show you guys. Starting off, I'm going to go through the rereads that I would like to focus on in the next year because I do enjoy rereading books, but I never really focus on them and prioritise them, and in 2025 I would really like to do that because some of these books I have been putting off reading for the past year or so, and I think if I put them in this video and I keep revisiting this video, which I should do, I think I have less chance of forgetting about them. So the first one I'm going to reread, I hope, is A Court of Thorns and Roses. So I read this when it first came out. I received an art copy which I think I threw away because I gave this book 1 star. The reason I want to reread it is because I do want to do some discussion videos with my husband while we reread them together. He read this back in March and I just didn't get back around to it. But also I have heard that the series gets a lot better, and one of my friends who also hated the first book when it first came out is now reading through the rest of the series and she's having a really good time. So I do think there's a possibility that I could enjoy the rest of this series. I just need to get through this first book. This is going to be one of the books I prioritise next year. I would also love to prioritise The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. This is another reread for me. I read this when it first came out and there has been a massive gap between books because the author unfortunately hasn't been very well. So there's been a big delay in the second book coming out, but I think everyone's hoping that it's going to come out late next year. And I'd really like to reread this and refresh my memory before I read the second book. I would always do that with the David Bad books. I would reread before the next release. I also need to recap this one. I might as well do a full reread rather than a skim read and just get stuck back into this world because I do love it. If you don't know, this is about a retired pirate captain called Amina who is in her 40s. She's a mother now. She is living in the countryside away from the sea, but she gets called back into pirating, I suppose, by an old woman who is looking for her granddaughter. And there's like a loose connection there. I think the granddaughter's father was on Amina's ship back in the day, and that's why this grandmother goes to Amina. So Amina gets dragged back in and then she has to go around various places and kind of get the band back together, which is a really fun trope, and I just love this book so much, so I'm really looking forward to rereading it. I would also love to reread Circe. This was actually on my November TBR but I didn't quite get to it, and I don't think I'm going to read it in December either, unfortunately, but I really do want to reread this one because I loved it. I love the character of Circe so much and I love what Madeline Miller has done with her here. Also, I feel like it's about time Madeline Miller released another book. I know she's going through health troubles, so I'm not blaming her for that at all, and I'm really missing her stories, so I would like to read this one. I haven't got it in me to reread The Song of Achilles, I don't think. I don't want to be destroyed again. And my final reread, I think, from this pile is going to be The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I love this series so much. I read them years ago and I was keeping up with all the new releases. The third book is actually my favourite, but I feel like I can't reread them out of order, so I would like to reread at least this first book in 2025 and then see how I go, if I want to carry on with the series again or if I'm going to leave a bit of a gap between books. I'll probably try to marathon them if I'm honest, because I do love these characters and this, just like the way that she writes is just incredible to me. It's really cozy and just really sweet and lovely. So I would like to reread this one. And then I've got a few books here. These aren't rereads, these are books that I've already read, but I'm going to be reading this author's newest books or books in the series. When you see the books, you'll understand what I mean. So the first one I would like to prioritise is by Abby Jimenez. Her latest release is just for the summer, but she's releasing another book in April next year, and I have an arc of it. I'll put the cover here. I'm so excited for it. I'm planning on reading it while I'm in Australia because it's going to be like summery vibes, I think, and I think that's just perfect, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Beth O'Leary, who wrote The No-Show, one of my favourite books, is also releasing a new book in 2025. I think it's called Swept Away. I was rejected for an arc for this one, so I won't be reading it in Australia, but I'm hoping to get my hands on it as soon as it comes out because I've pre-ordered it. I also really want to read TJ Newman's newest book. This is her second one and I absolutely loved it. Her newest one came out a few months ago and I started it but I didn't quite get into it. So she writes like aeroplane disaster thrillers and I really enjoy them. I won't be reading this on the plane to Australia, obviously it's going to be quite harrowing. But her newest one is about a plane that crashes into a nuclear power plant, and I think it's more about the people in this town that the plant is in rather than passengers on a plane. But I love her books so much. The first one is a little bit questionable, but I feel like she's brought it back with this, and I hope that I really enjoy the third book by her as well. And then the other book I would really like to prioritise is the newest sequel to The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It's called The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. It follows Misha. It's the start of a new duology within the same series. And I haven't managed to pick it up yet, although I do have it on Kindle Unlimited, so I might try and read it in December if I've got time. Depends what's going on the aeroplane to Australia basically and back. So my flight is 14 hours to Singapore and then 8 hours to Sydney, and then in between I've got I think like a 4-hour layover. So I should have lots of reading time, but my problem is I'm going to be exhausted because I need to stay awake for most of the first flight to try and beat jet lag when I land. So yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to read. Maybe I'll do a vlog about how much I can read on a 24-hour plane journey. It's just one idea that I have because I need to keep myself entertained somehow. I've tried to categorise the rest of them, but it hasn't really happened, so this is just all now in a random order. The first one I would like to prioritise is Pachinko. This was on my 5-star predictions list and I didn't quite get to it in 2024, which is really annoying because I do think I'm going to love it. So this is a generational story, I think, of a Korean family who moved to Japan. I think they're forced to move there, or they're sort of like talked into doing so. It says that it spans nearly 100 years, from the start of the 20th century to pre and post-war Osaka, and finally Tokyo. I really enjoy generational stories and stories that follow the same family throughout the years, so I think I will love this one. That's why it's a 5-star prediction. Another 5-star prediction actually is The Phoenix King. I followed this author on Twitter back when I still have Twitter. I've deleted it now. And she posted the most epic looking fan art from scenes in this book, and I just really think that I will love it. I'm not really sure what it's about, to be honest. It's a fantasy book. Something about a royal family. The main character I think is the princess or the queen or something. I don't know if she has like phoenix powers, but I do think I will really enjoy it going by the vibes that I've seen. I would also really like to read The Scarlet Alchemist, partly because this cover is stunning. I can't resist a lovely cover, but also I do think I will quite enjoy it. So this one follows a young woman who is an alchemist, and she is asked to help out the royal family, so she's taken away from her home to, I guess, get involved in court politics and things. I would really have liked to have read this towards the end of this year, but I didn't quite get to it. But I do think I will really enjoy it, and the sequel has come out recently, so if I like it, then I can get my hands on the sequel quite quickly. I would also really like to read Hannah Gould's newest book, Turtle Moon. She writes middle grade books with a heavy focus on climate change and rewilding. So this one here is set in Costa Rica. I guess the main character and his parents go there. Yeah, it says his dad is invited to paint it at a turtle rescue centre. So it's set in an animal sanctuary, and these books are also illustrated with the most gorgeous illustrations. I really enjoy this illustrator's style. Obviously you can see just by the cover how stunning these books are, but throughout there are also illustrations, and it really like takes you into the story, I think. So I'd really like to read this. I would love to prioritise The Principle of Moments. This was one of the first books I tried to read in 2024, and then I put it down because I decided that I wanted the physical copy, and then when I got the physical copy I put it on my shelf and didn't pick it up again. So I'd love to read this. This is like a time travel fantasy sort of fiction book. I think it sounds really good, so yeah, another one to prioritise, I think. I would love to read Harrow the Ninth, because I read Gideon I think at the end of last year, 2023, and I didn't love it, but I have heard that Harrow and Nona are quite different, and I'm thinking that if I feel kind of meh about Gideon, I might love Harrow. So I really want to try this one, and also I need to recap the series before Electo hopefully comes out next year. I know fans are waiting for it. So I'm thinking that I can recap Gideon early on in the year and then read this one and then recap it like straight after, so there's not a massive gap between reading and recapping. I also really want to read Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. This is the last book in this series by Ashley Herring Blake. It's a contemporary romance book with a focus on theatre this time, and I really enjoy her books. I just have to be in the mood for a contemporary romance, and I'm often not, so I will get to this probably in the spring in 2025. I also would love to prioritise The Doors of Eden by Adrian Tchaikovsky, because I have a massive collection of work by this author and I've only ever read one book by him, but I keep finding his books in the charity shops and buying them. So I have, I think, like 5 other books by him that I've not read, so I want to prioritise this one because it's about like parallel universes, and apparently it's a little bit weird, which I love, and yeah, parallel universes and portals and things, something that I really, really enjoy. And I know that I like his writing already because I've read Children of Time, so I'd like to read this. Staying on the sci-fi theme, I would love to read The Immortality Thief. So this one is space horror. My friend Marlene said that I will probably love this one. I'm a huge fan of space horror. I discovered in 2024 that it's probably my favourite genre, but there aren't enough of them around, so I nabbed this one as soon as I could. The sequel has been announced now, and that's coming out soonish, I think. I don't really know what this is about, maybe like an abandoned spaceship and there's something on there or something. I'm trying not to look at the back because I want to go in not knowing anything. I have just noticed that there are eyes on the cover. Can you see them? I hadn't noticed those before, so that's intriguing. But I do have a feeling that I will really enjoy this. One that I'm not sure I will enjoy, but I would love to give a go, is The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. So everyone loves this series, it seems. I don't even know what it's about. A bard's apprentice living in the slums, and then something about attracting royalty and an immoral heir. That's not important, so I want to read this because my friends have loved it, but also I'm a bit hesitant because I think it has footnotes. And I'm honestly not the best with books with footnotes because I find them quite distracting. So that's why I haven't picked this one up, even though I'm convinced I'm going to enjoy the actual story. It's the footnotes that scare me because they do really, I find them really distracting. They put me off. I don't like my eyes jumping around the page. I have a hard enough time not jumping to the next page when a book is thrilling because I have to force myself to read every sentence or every line because I just get so excited. And if I'm doing footnotes, like, it's just a nightmare. But I do think I could enjoy this one, so I'd like to give it a go in 2025 so that I know, and then I can also purchase the rest of the series. And then I've got some books that have been on my TBR for ages, and they've been in multiple TBR videos as well, and it's just, I just need to read them. This is really embarrassing at this point. So I have Do Not Disturb. This is an erotic thriller. I read the first book probably 10 years ago and I really, really enjoyed it. It's about a cam girl called Deanna who wasn't leaving the house because she had murderous thoughts and she was worried if she left the house that she would act upon them. But one day, one of her clients starts acting really, really weird and she catches on to it. Around the same time, she notices that she hears about a young girl in the area going missing and she starts investigating it, and she thinks it could be linked to her client, but the only problem is she can't leave the house because she thinks if she does, it's going to be a disaster. I don't know what this sequel is about, but there are 3 books in the series and I would really like to read this one and see if I want to continue. I've read a few other books by this author and I have enjoyed them, so I've got a good feeling that I will enjoy them. The chapters in this one are also really short, so I could fly through this one. I don't know why I've been putting it off for so long. And then this one, The Silence of the Girls, has been on probably every single TBR this year, it feels like. This is the story of the women of Troy. It follows a queen called Briseis as Troy is taken over and its women are abducted. I started this and I absolutely loved it, and then I put it down for absolutely no reason and I didn't carry on. But I am convinced I'm going to love this and I'd really like to read the other books in the series as well. So I'm prioritising this one in 2025. I'm going to put it on my February TBR. I just need to remind myself to do so. I would also love to read Best Served Cold by Jo Abercrombie. Finally, I read the first trilogy back in 2016 and I've never carried on with this First Law universe. My husband really, really enjoys them. I felt kind of middling about the first trilogy, although at the time I think I told him I loved them. I really liked the characters, I just wasn't really sure about the writing style, I think. So I would like to carry on regardless, because I know that I like the character who is featured in this book. Can't remember their name, but I did really enjoy her character in the trilogy. I don't think I'm going to commit to reading any other books in this series or universe in 2025, just this one, and that's good enough. Another one I've had on my shelf for ages is The Silence of Bones. I've restarted this several times. I'm up to page 30 and it's a YA mystery historical thriller, which I love. It's set in historical Korea and the main character is helping solve a murder. I think she gets involved with the chief of police or something, somehow. And I really enjoyed the writing style of what I've read and I love the concept. And I also really want to do a video on this author's books and tell you why I love them, which one is best, if I do love them, of course, because I've not read anything by her yet officially. But I think the idea of the project is what's putting me off of reading this one. So I'm just gonna be chill about it and take it at my own pace. If I don't love it, then I won't do the project. Or maybe I will, I just need a bigger gap, I don't know. Sometimes I get these like grand ideas and then it's difficult for me to follow through with them, or I like talk myself out of it because I think it's going to take ages, but like I just need to read books. It's not that difficult. So I'd love to prioritise this. I also got the library at Mount Char. I've got no idea what this is about because I've been told to go into it knowing nothing. I think it's like a horror kind of book. And I think I've seen like one thing about this. I'm not going to repeat it just in case it is a big spoiler, but I don't think it is. I think everyone's being really vague about it, which I really appreciate. I don't like going into books knowing anything about them anyway. I prefer to know very little, and the way that people are being so vague about this one makes me really excited. I've also put on here Atonement because I've been meaning to read this one for decades at this point. I told my friend Alex back in probably 2012, can't remember when we first started talking, but it was probably around then, that I would read this. She was really excited for me. I just never got to it, and I've put it on several TBRs since then. I don't even know what this is about because I've managed to stay away from spoilers because, again, I don't enjoy knowing anything about books when I go into them. I know that there's a film about it and I know that it's really sad, and that's literally it. I'm looking forward to reading this, but I'm also a bit cautious. I've read another book by this author and I did enjoy it. It wasn't my favourite, but it was alright. So I know that I can get on with his writing style. I was just taking a quick look at the back, but I don't actually want to read it because I don't want to know anything. And then the 25th book that I would like to prioritise in 2025 is The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. So I loved his other book, The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Absolutely adored it. I gave it 5 stars. And I picked this one up almost as soon as it came out, but I never read it. I think I started to. Maybe I got like 10 pages in and then decided it wasn't the time. But I would really like to read this one. This historical horror set on a ship in the 1600s, and I really like that idea, so that's why this one's on the list. Okay, and those are the 25 books that I'm planning on prioritising in 2025. I think I can do it. That's only 2 books a month-ish. So in theory, it shouldn't be too difficult for me. And with the Abby Jimenez arc, I might actually get ahead of that, so then it will be 2 books a month. Wish me luck and tell me in the comments below if there are any books that you would like to prioritise in 2025. Are you going for a full 25 or are you just doing like a top 5, top 10? I'm going to try to put 2 of these on my TBR pile every single month so that I don't lose focus. I do have a tendency to ignore TBRs and also forget that I set myself goals, so I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm going to try my best and then we'll see where I'm at maybe halfway through the year and see if I need to catch up. Thanks for watching this video and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Bye!